Hello everyone. Very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you from the Bali, Indonesia. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of regression and correlation, we will be wrapping up the week while looking at the relative strength and the weaknesses of the various USD crosses. We will be looking at the major currency crosses like Euro USD, GBP USD, NZD USD, AUD USD, USD CHF, USD CAD, and of course, not to forget the USD JPY as well. And in the equity space, the main focus is, of course, going to be on the US equity indices as the US session is going to get underway very soon. So let us now head to the JForex 4, the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. This is the Euro JPY chart, and as we mostly consider the USD crosses, I will change it. So here comes our most traded, the most liquid, and also with the least spread, the Euro USD. Now, if we consider the price action of the Euro USD so far in the day, earlier in the day it started closer to 1.065. It was hovering around that range, but as the day progressed, we saw this decline of almost 50 pips from the higher side, but the decline has not been rather much sharp. Here it is stabilizing, and for last couple of hours it is trading in a narrow range of around 30 pips. It is not moving much for the day. After a volatile week, rather eventful week, we had plenty of monetary policy announcement coming in from the major central banks, including the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, and of course, not to forget the European Central Bank, the ECB, and as a result of that, we had heightened volatility, and also there was major release, the data release, US CPI, which also caused a large move in many USD crosses and also in the equity space. So because of that, the week was quite eventful, and as we are now nearing the end of the week, here we have a rather uneventful day so far in the session with these subdued market moves observed in most of these currency crosses. Now here I think we don't really have any directional momentum at the moment. So it is more of an a trading space where you will have to try to exploit the range with this lower range support coming in at around 1.06 for the Euro USD, and on the higher side, the day's high established around 1.066 can be considered as the immediate resistance zone. So as we have this consolidation in place with not much of a decline observed in last couple of hours, we can take our chances, and I feel this price band around 1.06 to 1.062, it is around 15-20 pips price band. We will have to remain watchful as and when we get Euro USD moving in this range and rather stabilizing. So if there is no sharp move, one way move, on the lower side below this level, I think we can go for some scalping kind of opportunities here in the Euro USD, as it is trading sideways with this range intact. So we can take our chances while the risk is not going to be that high. I think 10-15 pips stop loss should be good enough to be considered here. If we look at the major momentum, if we consider the moves on the larger time frame, here also the momentum has been sideways. We got this sharp spike after the release of US CPI, and after that both these central bank announcement didn't really lead to any substantial move in either direction. For Wednesday's FOMC monetary policy announcement, we saw up and down moves, and same thing was repeated even after the release of ECB, where it hiked interest rates by 50 basis point, where we saw the Euro USD climbing up and then down, and getting back to where it started. Now, in today's session, there is not much of a momentum, and as I said, it is more of a range bound situation where we can try to exploit the range as we have this support in place on the lower side, and we can indeed take our chances. Now we have to figure out which is the strongest bet and which is the weakest bet in either side. So if we have to bet on further strengthening of the euro, or you can say further weakening of the US dollar from here onwards, then of course our job is to find out the best bet in terms of the strongest momentum. So if we expect the near term momentum to be slightly bullish, so we have to then start comparing the timeline of these price action and as well as the magnitude of these moves to figure out if the euro is the best placed currency to trade with this slightly uppish movement, or if we have better option somewhere else. So let's start scanning the space, currency space for that. All right. So let's take the case of AUD USD first. AUD USD is showing slightly more bearish tendency here. The day's high came in at one, sorry, not one, 0.6735, and after that it declined around 50 pips. And if we look at its upward move from there onwards, it did went on to make this 4 hourly swing high a while back. And if we consider this timeline of the immediate swing low and swing high formation, we will get a much more clarity in what's happening in the AUD USD in comparison to the euro. So this low was made at 11:50 GMT, and for euro that low came in quite around the same time. So there is not much of a difference. But after that, the UD was able to climb back to the 4 hourly swing high, which didn't really materialize for the Euro USD. But now it is climbing up and showing this slightly bullish tendency. So this is a mixed picture, but looking at the magnitude of the rise, I think we have slightly more bullish case for the AUD USD compared to the Euro USD, even though if we look at the prior decline, there also the magnitude was much more. So in this case, we have slightly higher volatility being observed in the AUD compared to the euro in percentage terms. If you count in pips terms, of course the AUD's volatility is going to be less, but in percentage term, the AUD's volatility is higher. And my personal preference is to trade with the more volatile instrument, and in this case AUD is looking like that. So here, if the AUD is able to hold closer to these levels, the prior swing lows around 0.6678, so this price range is going to be crucial moving forward also. So unless and until there is any one way fast move below 0.6670, I think if we see this consolidation continue for a while, and if it doesn't really break below this immediate swing low and 0.6670, then we can indeed take our chances while observing for some stabilization, as we have higher volatility and also slightly uppish move momentum at the moment in the AUD, so we can take our chances. So watch out for this currency, which is looking slightly more bullish compared to the euro. But of course, the major momentum is still more favorable to the bearishness if we look at it from the larger time frame perspective. But since we have stabilization for last couple of hours, it will be pretty difficult to expect any major move on the lower side or on the upper side. So we can adopt a scalping approach here. So here, watch out for this prior low and the price range around this. Now let's see the price volatility of GBP USD. The GBP USD is seemingly the best placed currency against the dollar of all the three. It is apparent from this chart, pardon me, as we have the GBP USD swing high coming in, and that is also being followed by this uppish movement even now. So we have, I think, stronger case for the positive move, the upward momentum in the GBP compared to what we saw in case of Euro USD as well as in case of AUD USD. So even if you have to go for scalping trades here, the prior swing low is going to come into play at around 1.211. So that's not really nearby. It is almost 60-70 pips. But GBP tends to be a lot more volatile compared to other currencies. So here, this is the risk we have to keep in mind. So I think it will be a better idea to go for a trade when it is hovering and consolidating closer to these range rather than at the moment where it is looking to go towards this prior swing high, and it will be interesting to see how things shape up moving forward. So far, if we have to go for scalping trade with this prior support in mind, then the GBP is the best bet of all the three USD crosses we have seen so far, with the euro being the weakest, AUD in between, and the GBP on the strongest side. Now, the development for the NZD. NZD is actually able to climb high, and if we compare its prior swing high, which was at 0.6376, it is almost there, slightly less compared to the prior high, but it is not far off, and it looks like it is going to make this day's high in coming few minutes for that matter. So here we have less decline and also more bullish momentum in case of NZD USD, but here we will have to also keep in mind that it has climbed substantially from the immediate support area. So even if you want to go for the buy trade in NZD compared to other currencies, we do have to take caution and allow it to decline to some lower levels and consolidate while keeping in mind this immediate swing low of 0.6341. So this is the price range to target. On the higher side, as it has again climbed back toward this prior swing high, it will be a difficult choice to look for short selling opportunities as it is looking to break out on the higher side. So we will have to see how sustainable these breakout tends to be, and then we will have to make the fresh assessment. The USD CAD, the CAD has been one of the weakest currency against the dollar, and same being observed in today's session also, where the USD CAD is continuing to climb high and high. If we consider its immediate swing low, which came in at 1.362, and now its current levels, it is almost 50 pips up from those levels. So it is a contrarian currency, as most other currencies are showing the ability to hold the ground, and even in some cases we are seeing the possible upward momentum. But in CAD, the weakness is there and it is not really able to hold its ground against the dollar. So this is the this is the trade to be taken when you expect the dollar to continue to trade strong and even go on to rise against almost all of these currencies. In this scenario, the CAD is the best place currency, but you should not really bet on the CAD's appreciation. We have much better choice, and NZD is one of the strongest one out there. So here, this is a contrarian trend, and we can bet on it for the continuity with prior swing low in mind, which is around 40 to 50 pips from the current price level. But that's the price range you can quite can be quite confident about. So you will have to wait it out and see how things shape up. USD CHF. The CHF is also trading on the weaker side in today's session. The consolidation for last couple of hours closer to this immediate swing high is creating the impression that it is struggling on this level. So for next couple of hours, it will be interesting to see how things shape up. It if it is not really able to climb much higher from these levels, then we can of course go for some scalping trades and try to short it. But as things stand, it is of course going to be a difficult choice. And here, in line with what we saw for the CAD as well, the USD CHF is also in upward momentum at the moment. So here it is a difficult choice really, because we have in other major European currencies slightly bullish momentum, but in case of CHF, it is all bearish as it is continuing to weaken throughout the day for most part of the day, and especially after the start of the European trading session, we saw the USD CHF climbing from the levels around 0.9260 to 0.931, so that is half a percentage point move. And as a result of that, the CHF is apparently one of the weakest currency, and it is in line with CAD. Now, if we have to decide if the CAD is the weakest or the CHF is the weakest, we have to consider these prior swing low formation and the swing high formation. So swing low came in at 9:15 GMT, and after that, the high formation came in at 9:50 GMT. Now let's consider the case of USD CHF. It has come in earlier, so we have a more weaker, more bearishness in CHF against the dollar. So I think in that respect, the CAD is doing slightly better compared to the CHF. So we have the most bearish momentum against the dollar in CHF, and we have the most bullish momentum against the dollar in NZD. So now that only one currency cross of the major currencies is missing, so we will be able to then complete the picture for our whole spectrum of momentum. Now looking at the USD JPY chart, USD JPY seems to be lying somewhere in the middle. It is not really bearish or bullish against the dollar. Now this big move we are getting might change the picture, but as things stand after this long consolidation around this narrow range, it is really difficult to say that there is strong momentum on either side in the USD JPY. It is more of the middle of pack currency. It is not really strongly bullish or bearish. We have much more clarity in other major currencies, and as I said, the NZD is one of the strongest bet against the dollar. So here, if it gives you opportunity on the lower side closer to these immediate swing low, you should be able to exploit that. And we have the USD CHF as the most weakest one. So here also the buying opportunities might arise, but you will have to allow it to correct from the current levels, and after that you can take your chances. Now let's shift our gaze to the equity segment and see what's happening there. The equity space saw strong selling in today's session. There was this swing high formed at 33,250, and after that it went all downhill to decline almost 500 points. And now that we are getting closer to the start of the US trading session, we don't really have any strong move on the upper side. Rather, the momentum is still on the bearish side. So we will have to go with the flow and avoid any kind of temptation to buy low in the dough, as the momentum is quite strongly bearish, and we only have to figure out if the dough is the best case to go short, or we should be waiting it out and allow for more stabilization before we can proceed with our next trade. Let's consider the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is also following same trajectory, and it made this swing low around the same time. Let's consider the timeline of this. Yes, there is not much of a difference. 14:55 GMT. and also for S&P 500 it happened around the same time. So on that count there is not much difference. Now we will have to look at the momentum and the magnitude of this decline. So for that we have the here 500 points, that is 1.5 times, and for S&P 500 the decline is also around 1.5 times. So this is, I think, a similar trajectory for all these two major equity indices of the US. Now, if we consider the Nasdaq is trading slightly more bullish compared to the other equity indices. So we have almost similar trajectory, price trajectory prevailing in the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average, but we have better momentum, better situation prevailing for the scalping trades in the Nasdaq. So if you are in favor of continuing to trade with the bearish bias in the equity indices, then I think it is a better idea to go short in the S&P 500 or Dow Jones. There is not much of a difference. But if you are a contrarian and you expect the prices to stabilize and then eventually rise from these levels, then watch out for 11,200 on the lower side for the Nasdaq. And if things stabilize around this price level, then I think Nasdaq can also be utilized as the equity index to trade with and go for some scalping opportunities therein. So that's my take looking at these equity indices. And if you have any query or any idea to share, you can write to me in the feedback, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. Before I sign out, I would also like to remind that we have further market coverage material on the Dukascopy Analytics page, so please check it out. You can also get back to us using the Facebook. We have our Facebook page, and I have also included the link in the bio. So give it a try and let me know how this platform, the JForex 4 platform, works out for you. So I will be back on Monday after the weekend ahead. So let's have fun. Whatever money we have made during the week, it has to be spent over the weekend. And after that, getting refreshed, and we will be back with the business on Monday. So see you on the other side. We will be there, all of us together on Monday. See you on Monday. Thank you all for joining in. Goodbye.